Hello everyone, this is Ashish Raj and I welcome you all to our brand new podcast. So few days back जब हमारे last trimester के एग्ज़ाम ख़त्म हो गए थे तो I was thinking what I could do in my spare time. So I thought maybe I could do some internship or write a research paper और कुछ कोर्स कर लेता. But then I thought I should do something which I have not done in my whole life. Then we thought to do a podcast. Very big fan of.
आशीष, ये वॉलीबॉल मैच नहीं है कि ऑडियंस सिर्फ तुम्हें देखने के लिए आ रही है. इस शो का सुपरस्टार कोई और है.
तुम भी नहीं हो सकती हो रिया, ये इंस्टाग्राम भी नहीं है.
Sadly, yes. So we are going ahead with our very own first ever BIMTECH podcast, and our first guest is Professor Arvind Shukla. Let me tell you guys about him. Currently a professor in the area of marketing.
What you are doing रिया?
What?
तुम पूरा आइडिया बोल रही हो हमारे पॉडकास्ट का.
So what is the idea?
So the whole idea is behind our podcast is to bring the unseen, unknown and the raw perspective of our faculty's mind. So in this episode you are going to watch the perspective of our own loving and charming A.V. Shukla sir.
Which you don't know yet. Hello sir, first of all thank you so much for joining us here. We are really excited that we are starting something new, and starting something new with you, it's adding to its own charm.
Thank you so much for calling me. I really don't know how good it would be to start with me, but thank you yet.
Okay sir. So moving ahead, हमारा जो पहला सवाल है वो है कि sir you are known to have a very funny and humorous style of teaching. So sir, tell us the secret behind it. Like what keeps you going for this long 37 years, and what's the secret behind your enthusiasm?
Thank you so much for reminding me about my age. Although indirectly, but in a very subtle manner,
Yes,
you've let me know that, sir, it's not your age to be enthusiastic.
Absolutely not, sir. You look like still sweet 16, so definitely not doing that.
Thank you so much. I many a times tell my students that I am more a product of packaging than the product itself. And the credit of me coming out with a good packaging goes to my product manager, that is my wife at home. So let me tell you without any hesitancy that whatever clothes I put on are 100% chosen by her. Not because I consider that she has great expertise in it, but because I want to purchase my peace of mind. And so I let her do the choosing.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah. Now coming to your question of how do I maintain my enthusiasm, the reality is that I have never treated my work as work. I come to BIMTECH to relax, to enjoy. My off day actually starts when I reach BIMTECH. I go home to work and I come to BIMTECH to relax. And I hope my director is not listening to this.
So do you think BIMTECH gives that environment, that comfortable, what you are saying, that it feels like a home to you?
More than the environment at the place of work, it's more the work itself and how do you treat it. If you treat your work, if you like your work, it will always be enjoyable for you. And that is where I still remember a quote from Sachin Tendulkar when he said that choose a job that you like and you will never work in your life. When he goes out to bat on the field every day, he doesn't go out with a job to be completed, a target to be achieved, a goal to be sought after and achieved. He goes out to enjoy, and that's how he creates all the records. So I go out to every class with the thought of how am I going to enjoy today. So I remember many a times I get into the class and I tell my students to please close the door. And in one such class I asked the students, do you know why I am getting this door closed? So they said, maybe because you don't want latecomers to come in. Okay. So I said, no, try another answer. So they said, sir, maybe because you don't want disturbance to come in, noise disturbance. I said, no, you are absolutely wrong. I close these doors from inside so that people sitting inside can't run out.
Like there have been, the way you teach, so there have been many anecdotes related to your better half. So we would like to know, like how do you relate the anecdotes of your life with the concepts, and how beautifully and easily you teach the concepts to the students that they don't even realize, okay, they're just listening to stories that you told, like you narrate in the class. But by the end of the lesson, the lecture, they know that, okay, we have understood the concepts as well. So we would like you to throw some light over it.
So also we think that your better half has some role, some
Yeah.
role to play with your humor. What you have, your humor, your funny style, your better half has also some role behind it. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's very true. In most of my classes, a reference to my wife comes, and it's usually in a very, very jovial or a funny way. In fact, there have been instances where the director of the institute has once asked me about this and said, Ki, why is it that you are said to crack so many jokes on your wife? And probably he meant to say, Ki, do you feel safe doing it? And I still remember the reply that came to my mind immediately at that moment was that, sir, I think you should be thankful that I crack jokes on my wife. Had it been the other way around, probably I would have landed in bigger difficulties and bigger problems than I do just now. Yes, you're very right. I have started using a lot of examples about myself, about my family and about my wife, because I realized very soon, early in my academic career, that cracking jokes about yourself is the safest to do. Because that way you're not rubbing any other person the wrong way. And as far as your family is concerned, whatever I face with these jokes about my family, my wife, my better half, what I face at home, nobody comes to know. So there have been so many occasions when dinner was not served. And I really don't know why, but on hindsight, I think, yeah, that day there was something that happened in the class, and I really wonder how did she come to know about it. But yes, I've used it many times, probably because I know those instances in and out, and while preparing for the class, I have got in mind what do I want to bring to the class, and how through this example I would possibly bring the class to it. So, for example, whenever a session begins, an introduction is given, and the person who's introducing me asks for my CV, and my usual response is, I don't have a CV to share, and please don't introduce me. Just tell people that he will do his own introduction.
Okay.
So when I go to the class, I can see 60 young people sitting in front of me and looking at me expectantly, 120 eyes staring at me.
Yeah.
And it is overwhelming for a minute, but very quickly I come over it and I start by introducing myself. So what do they want to know, I think? They don't want to know my achievements as an academic. In fact, it's boring for them. So maybe I should tell them something about myself which they don't know. So a usual story, and mind you, this is just a story. It's fiction. The usual story that I begin with is that I come to the class with an equipment in my pocket. This equipment is a very unique equipment, and I just accidentally found it one day. What is unique about this equipment is that this small instrument is that it relays what the person in front of me is thinking in voice mode in my ears. So be careful, I can actually listen to what you're thinking at the moment.
Okay.
And how did I discover it? It was one day that I was walking down the road with my wife, and as usual she was a few steps ahead of me and I was quietly following her. When I stumbled,
She was ahead with you? Okay.
yeah, she was ahead of me,
Okay.
and as usual, and
Quietly following. So
and
that
I
doesn't
stumbled
happen
on something.
every day. You are following your wife quietly.
Not every day. It's day and night both.
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
So I stumbled on something, and while I was quickly getting up, my wife had walked a few steps ahead, and there she stopped and turned to see what had happened to me. And I was getting up and dusting myself when a certain sound started coming to me. And so I started listening, oh, what's the matter? And I quickly realized that it is the sound of my wife. So I looked at her, and she was frowning at me, and she was thinking something. And I quickly realized that the thing that I had stumbled on was actually relaying in my ears what she was thinking. And she was saying, oh, what a man and a half. It would have been better to marry at least the Jabalpur and me, because he would have at least had a jeep take me around. And that is when I quickly decided to keep that very useful instrument in my pocket. I quickly picked it up, did not tell her anything about it, and continued my journey. That instrument is with me from that day even till today. Even just now it is with me. And I can tell you what are you thinking at the moment. For example, this student of mine is currently thinking, ये कितनी देर में subject start करेगा?
No, no, I'm not thinking. So do you think that instrument is called emotional intelligence? Like being aware of your environment and
I don't know. There is no brand on that instrument. And there is no brand name. And I don't know what it is called. I call it God. Because God gave it to me accidentally and He chose me in the entire world to give it. I'm sure nobody else has it.
So out of like context, it's a irrelevant question. You spoke about God. Do you think like God exists or is there any God here in this world?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in God. Yes.
Okay.
So coming back to our college, so as you mentioned, आपने उस instrument के बारे में बताया. तो with the help of that instrument, imaginary instrument, कितने टाइप के students are you have like taught और आपको लगता है इतने टाइप के students हैं मतलब एक class में होते हैं? So throw some light on it.
हाँ, there are many types of students in the class. I think majoritarily a class consists of students who are very serious and at least start with the objective of learning. Then there are some others who come with the objective of enjoying. And there are yet others who are undecided. They neither come to learn nor come to enjoy. They come there because their parents have sent them to the class. And these are the three types of audience sitting in front of me. Now I have to dish out in that lecture or that session of 1 hour, 1.5 hours, I have to dish out something which would be possibly satiating all these three types. The first types should get that they learn something. The second types should now start understanding why they are there. And the third types should actually start thinking, yeah, it's not a bad idea that I'm here now.
So what do you think, since you have taken our classes, what category do we belong to?
Your class also consisted of all the three types.
Yeah.
If I have to actually categorize the two of you, it would be difficult because it's been more than a year that we've interacted. Yes. And if you really want your categorization, you'll have to subject yourself to one more session for 3 hours. And I'm sure you're not going to do that.
Okay,
so moving ahead. So you said that it's very important to analyze the different sets of students present in the class. So what do you think? What's the importance of the interactive class teacher should take? Like, अगर कोई भी teacher आता है वो they spits out theoretical knowledge और वो they also expect that student उनको सुने चीजें सारे 2 घंटे के क्लास हैं they expect that हम लोग सारी बातें retain भी करें.
हम हमारे pain points बता रहे हैं सर को.
Correct. So what do you think? How important it is to make the class interactive for the teacher as well? So that student should retain those concepts, because whatever concept you have taught us, वो अभी भी है हमारे दिमाग में, because you have related it to the practical knowledge. So yeah.
See, I think in a 1.5 hour class, listening is the most toughest thing to do. And I very much relate to it, that the student sitting in front of me is coming in with the mindset that now I have to sit quiet and listen for 1.5 hours, which itself starts as a barrier, and it breaks the communication between me and him, because he's put up a shield that I'm not going to get bored in this 1 hour. Let me cut off what he is dishing out. And that is where my role to open that shield, to break away that, to remove that shield starts. And the first thing that I need to do for removing that shield is that I need them to open their mouth. If they open their mouth, I can peep into them. You remember, a fish also gets caught only when it opens its mouth.
Yeah. Correct.
After all, a fish would never get caught if it did not go and bite the worm that is put on the hook used for fishing it. So I make the students open their mouth, and while they are opening their mouth, I can have a quick measure of where are they coming from. How much are they with me? Are they grasping? Are they agreeing with what I'm saying? And one of my experiences in the class in the beginning is that students are very apprehensive to speak.
Yes.
They fear that maybe they'll say something wrong and sir would get angry, or maybe they don't know the right answer, so should they be speaking at all? So one of my experiences has been that students start with a very low volume.
Okay.
Because they're not very sure about what they're saying, so they think that it's better to be inaudible than to be audible and making a fool of oneself. So my usual response to students and to encourage them to speak is that, can you be slightly louder? I'm not as young as I look. Now, the moment I say this, it lightens the environment. The student also now feels more encouraged to speak because he or she gets a feeling that sir is casual, sir is light, sir is happy, he's not going to get angry if I say something wrong. And within a few sessions and within a few questions and answers like this, the class opens up, and that is exactly what I intend to do. Once they open up with me, I can peep inside each one of them and see how much they have inside them. What can I build upon? Where do I need to put in some more inputs, so that ultimately by the end of the term, I do leave the class with every student getting some value add done during that term, during that session, during that course.
Absolutely. Sir, so going on the same line, sir, कुछ examples और कुछ instances if you would like to share जो students के साथ में आपके experiences रहे हैं for such long period of time, so we would be really interested in knowing that.
There have been many instances,
Okay.
and in fact, every term, every batch is full of instances of every type, and it's not only from the students. It's also from many times from colleagues. And there are two instances which stand out in my memory as my all-time favorites. And one of them was when I was speaking to this PGDM class many years ago. And as usual, I was nearing the end of the session, so I just happened to ask, are there any questions? And I was encouraging them to ask questions because I wanted to again peep inside and see what has been delivered. So there was this girl, a fairly senior looking lady. She raised her hand and I said, yeah, please go ahead. And the question that she threw at me caught me absolutely off guard. She asked me something of the theory that I had covered, and it was very natural for me to ask her what does she feel about it, her answer to the question. And when she answered the question, I discovered that her perception was not correct. So I corrected that perception in whatever way I could and ended my answer. Now came the big shot that she was going to make about it. She immediately corrected herself. She was very apologetic in her tone and she said, yeah sir, I got it. I was misconceived. And that is where I didn't know how to react. मेरी अंदर की आवाज़ कह रही थी कि पर उसमें मेरा कोई रोल नहीं है, बट मैं ये कह नहीं सकता।
Oh my God.
और इसलिए अपने अंदर की भावनाओं को अंदर रखते हुए मैं क्लास से बाहर चला आया। And this is one instance which has remained in my memories very prominently. Now there are a couple of other instances which also stand out with some of my colleagues. There was this colleague of mine who was a very good friend, and we used to have many enjoyable sessions over cups of tea and coffee.
Yes.
And that is when we used to sort of joke at each other, discuss things, even sometimes discuss the theory that we are covering in the class, because both of us came from the same area. So in one of these sessions, I was also telling how there was a lot of work given to each one of us by the college, and how I had possibly found out a way to cut short my work and do it very quickly and very easily. So my colleague, my friend responded by saying that, yeah, I know you are a perfect control. You really do not work at all and carry on your day in the same way. Now this colleague of mine was educated in a premium institution in the country and came from a very big corporate background, having headed a company for a few years, and he carried it as a sort of a label on his collar every time. So I utilized that opportunity to tell him, look here, it's great that you acknowledge that I am a controller, but that actually adds to my value. You come from a pedigree background, a good degree, a good company, a good corporate experience, and here I am from an unknown college, a career academic, never having gone into the boardroom of a company. And look, where do we end up? You are at the same place and I am at the same place. And the icing on the cake is that you work a lot and still get the same payment which I am getting for not working at all in your own words. So be careful if you want to brand me as a controller, great, but then it reflects badly on you.
Yeah.
So these are some instances which have been enjoyable, which have remained in my memory, and of course there are many more, but these are the two that I would like to possibly bring up over here in this discussion with you today.
Thank you so much, sir.
We are just past the COVID times and our online classes. So as a student and as a teacher, both have different experience of the online classes. So could you please tell us some of your experience, how it was for you, and some few funny experiences also you can share with us.
Yes, it has been a major change and a sudden change. We were almost forced into going online in 2020 April, and we were suddenly told that now the students would join an online class. So we went into the online class with a lot of worry about how is this going to happen, concern. And so I entered the class, and for the past 37 years when I've entered the class, I have found 30, 40, 50, 60 students sitting over there and looking at me. So 120 eyes looking at me expectantly, or possibly with the view of what is he going to say today. But this time I entered the class and it was empty.
Yeah.
So I started delivering my talk. There was a camera and I kept speaking for the next 30-40 minutes. And then I was told that the session is over and the class has ended. The students were online and I couldn't see them. But I was told that yes, they are online and listening to you. So I came out of the class, and the feeling that I had was a feeling of actually dissatisfaction. Although on hindsight I feel that that is the day when I graduated into एक स्टेज परफॉर्मर से मैं उस दिन सही अर्थों में एक फिल्म स्टार बन गया. तो वो कैसे बन गया? So as a stage performer, I was performing before my students, and every minute of my performance was getting adjusted according to the response that I get from the class. So every look, every snigger, every laugh, or every question makes me decide what am I going to do next. The examples that I will bring in, the explanations that I will give, the questions that I will ask are all decided by what is happening with my audience in that performance that is going on stage. But here I was with the audience completely absent, vanished, and replaced by a single camera. As it is, technology is a bit overwhelming to me. And now here I was with a camera staring at me, and I was speaking without getting any instant feedback, as I call it. So the looks, the claps, the sniggers, the laughs are feedback that enable me to go on and to mold what I am delivering. But that was absolutely absent. But yes, I did feel that I had become a film star. So my early childhood dream of becoming a film star actually got fulfilled in 2020 when the pandemic came.
So there are different kind of places from students attend their online classes. So have you encountered like somebody is taking the classes, sleeping? Have you caught any student like that? Like somebody is taking the classes from like they are out on a trip and then they are taking the class, something like this?
Yes, yes. There have been many instances. Students generally think that they would possibly be keeping their video cameras off and attend the class from wherever and whatever position they are in. But as a faculty, I insist that they switch on their video cameras. So in one such class, I still remember that it was an early morning class, early from the point of view of the students. Although it was
so 11 a.m. or
although
something?
it was about 10:30 or 11 in the morning. So many students had joined the class, at least logged in and kept their cameras off. So I insisted that they switch on their cameras. And on a bit of a cajoling, most of them started switching on their cameras. That's when one of the students switched on the camera. And what all of us could immediately see was this student was actually lying in the bed.
Oh my God.
वो सर्दियों के दिन थे और वो स्टूडेंट आराम से एक रजाई के अंदर लेटा हुआ था और उसने अपना कैमरा स्विच ऑन किया और एक सेकंड में ही उसने भी रियलाइज किया कि
कैमरा ऑन हो गया मेरा,
शायद ये ठीक नहीं दिख रहा है। तो उसने अपना कैमरा स्विच ऑफ किया, जल्दी से अपने बाल अपने हाथों से ठीक किए और फिर से कैमरा स्विच ऑन किया। तब सारा दारोमदार बदल चुका था, बट वी हैड ऑल सीन what
so it was a concern कि कैमरा ऑन ना हो जाए गलती से अनम्यूट ना कर दें हम लोग.
And more than that, there was another horrifying experience with me myself.
Okay.
It was not a class, but it was an online meeting that we were having. In the thick of the pandemic, everything in the lockdown, we in our homes, and a meeting was going on. So I was attending the meeting as a very, very professional look on my face and a very smart jacket on the top half of my body, and because it was summertime, shorts in the lower part of my body, and I was very damn sure that nobody is going to have possibly a look at the shorts.
Yeah.
So my camera was there in front of me, my feet were on the table in the front, and people were seeing me on the camera. And within a few minutes, I got a SMS message from one of my faculty colleagues. He said, "Sir, अपना camera turn कर लीजिए." That is when I saw in the screen what had happened was that from the front camera, accidentally the back camera had got started and it was now focusing on my feet with my shots over there. And I was so horrified and I quickly switched off the camera and then possibly tried to make good the loss that had happened. But yet the cat was out of the bag, and so everybody had a good laugh at my expense. And I requested the institute that because I had made everybody's day, I should be given a special prize for what I did in that class. But that is the day when I vowed to myself that I will now attend classes and meetings in a complete formal outfit instead of a partial formal.
So but it's a relief to know कि ये blunder सिर्फ students के साथ नहीं होता, faculty भी के साथ भी.
Everyone has faced it.
Absolutely,
Everyone has faced it.
absolutely. I'm sure you all have seen videos available on YouTube of presidents of countries addressing the nation in their undergarments and accidentally getting up in between and revealing what should not have possibly been revealed.
Yeah.
Can I take this?
Yes, yes, sure.
Absolutely, sir.
Hello.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
Good afternoon.
सर मैं नेहा बात कर रही हूँ एजीएस ब्रोकिंग फर्म के तरफ से।
जी.
इज दिस अ राइट टाइम टू टॉक?
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
सर हमारे डेटा के अकॉर्डिंग आपके पास एटीएस में एक प्रॉपर्टी है X791 में।
जी जी जी.
सर जस्ट वांट टू नो आप उसको रेंट आउट या सेल आउट करना चाहेंगे?
हाँ नेहा जी, मैं उसमें अभी रह रहा हूँ और अभी तो ऐसी कोई नौबत नहीं आई है कि उसे मैं सेल आउट करूँ, पर जिस दिन मेरे पास ऐसी नौबत आएगी मैं आपका फ़ोन नंबर सेव करके रखता हूँ और आप ही को कॉन्टैक्ट करूँगा. थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू सो मच सर। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू.
So this thing brings me to a question that you are also a marketing and CRM professor. So what do you think, how, about, there are companies who implement CRM strategies. So as a customer, you are also being on a receiving end. So could you please tell us some of your experiences, how it has been?
Sir, but I would just like to interrupt. Do you really want to sell your flat?
Not at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, as a marketing professor, I have been teaching CRM for many years, and I have been possibly exposed to CRM practices of companies as a customer at the same time. And some of the experiences that I have got have been truly amazing and horrifying. I should
Okay,
say.
horrifying.
Yeah, there is this shoe company which I accidentally bought a pair of shoes from a couple of years ago, and I was made a member of some of their high sounding club, which I was told was their customer loyalty club. So I was very delighted that I am the member of some hi-fi club now, and I started getting messages about so many points being credited to my club account and so many points being accumulated over there, and I never paid much attention to it. But one day a message from that same company came, and it said that your 150 points are expiring in the next 3 days.
Yeah.
So rush to our nearest outlet and redeem your 150 points. So as a typical Indian, I thought there is something in this of value. After all, we as Indians love anything that is free. So I inquired from the local Bata stores of what are these points and how do they convert. So I was told that, sir, these points are very valuable points. For every point you get a rupee equivalent of 50 paisa. So I did a quick calculation at the back of the envelope. 150 points turn out into a 75 rupees redemption, which was not a big proposition for me. A person purchasing shoes from a particular brand costing somewhere around 7,000 to 8,000 rupees is being tried to develop into a good relationship by offering a 75 rupees off. I really find it very, very surprising, and I sometimes pity the people behind running such type of CRM programs. But then there's been other experiences as well. So fortunately for the company and unfortunately for me, I bought a car recently, and then started this CRM efforts of the company. They were trying to meet me, they were trying to take my feedback, they were trying to sort of massage my ego and everything. So one day I got a call from the salesperson from the showroom where I purchased the car, and he said, sir, you would soon get a feedback call from the company. So please take care to give me good ratings.
So you had already bought the car?
Yeah, I had
and then
already
it's
bought
like
it.
afterwards, the
Yeah,
post-purchase services,
Okay.
So I had already bought the car, and he told me that, sir, give me a good rating. So I said, okay, no problem, no issues. You did a good job, and I will certainly be true to what I experienced with you. But that was not all. After about 2 hours, I got a phone call from the dealer.
Again? Okay.
And this time it was some receptionist at the dealer's place who was saying, sir, you will get a phone call. And that would be a feedback call from the company, and they would be possibly wanting your feedback about our dealership. And I'm sure you've had a good experience with us. So please do rate us well.
So sounds like
feedback से पहले call करा उन्होंने setup करने के लिए कि give us good ratings.
So I thought possibly that is done. But then by the evening I actually got a phone call from the company. And they said, we are calling from Chennai and you've purchased a car from us, and we want to take your feedback. Is this the right time to talk to you? So I said, yeah, please go ahead. They asked me a couple of questions and took my feedback. So by the end of the day, I had spent about 30 to 45 minutes attending to the relationship efforts of the company with me. So I think I had invested a good amount of time in building this relationship more than the company itself. And this, by the way, was only that part of the story which happened after I had bought the car. Before that, there was the same thing repeated when I just visited their showroom to have a look at the car, take a test drive or something like that. Then there was a next round of the same efforts when I actually ordered the car and placed my order and was waiting for delivery. And then of course all this. So all in all, मेरी ज़िंदगी के 10-15 घंटे तो मैंने उस कंपनी से रिलेशनशिप में खर्च कर दिए, जो कि शायद मैंने मेरी वाइफ से भी नहीं खर्च किए थे रिलेशनशिप बनाने में या मेंटेन करने में. तो मैं अब सोचता हूँ कभी-कभी कि I really don't know whether the companies have actually got a grasp of what is CRM. And is it the right CRM that they are practicing in the name of customer relationship? I have serious doubts. And I think I would recommend to these companies to send their sales executives to get taught CRM practices in an internationally accredited institute like ours.
So what do you think, like why this is happening? एक तो रीजन है कि सर they have not been taught by you.
Absolutely, we are lucky ones.
But what could be the और क्या reasons हो सकते हैं कि ये कंपनी ऐसे follow करती है? They are not, maybe they are not able to understand the customer needs or pain points what they face. So where the gap is, like?
Yeah, I think basically it is the gap in the understanding of customer relationships at the top level in the company. When in their efforts to get good performance from their dealer staff and so on, they've introduced checks and counter checks which are more output oriented than input oriented. So the performance of the salesman, the performance of the service engineer who does the first service on my car is all related to what type of response does the company get in terms of feedback. And therefore what happens is that these people now have realized that unless they get a good feedback, they are not going to get a good incentive from the company. So the entire focus is now shifted to not the service itself, but on getting a good feedback or a good rating. And that is where they've started sort of engaging with the customer on a personal and a one-to-one note to get a good feedback rather than actually trying to understand what has been his experience, has it been good, where have we underperformed and what can we improve. So I think the cause may possibly be because the top management of the company has actually not understood the crux or the soul of CRM. And the soul of or the crux of CRM is actually what some authors have termed as permission marketing. So it's more initiated by the customer himself than by the company. And today is the time when the customer feels कि मुझे पता है, I know, I'll decide when time comes, I'll come in touch base with you and I'll buy your product. If it's good enough, that will happen automatically. And if it's not good enough, no amount of trying to ask me how was my experience is going to make me change my opinion about your brand. So that is it, and I think this would possibly grow on into the company's thinking as the scenario progresses.
Okay, so now थोड़ा सा context, I want to go to some other context. So जैसे हमने अभी CRM की बात करी, so digital media बहुत ज़्यादा, like we are exposed to digital media, the content that we consume हमें बहुत influence करता है, बहुत positive है, negative है, and absolutely आपको भी बहुत हद तक किया ही होगा. You have also been consuming digital media because nobody can escape from that. So थोड़े से questions हैं. पहला question sir, who is your most favorite epic character? So.
Now it's becoming a bit difficult for me to connect this background of digital media and epic character. But anyway, since you've asked me about who is my favorite character from the epics or from mythology, I would want to name a character who possibly would be very unnoticeable to the general public. But I'm sure everybody knows about this character. And this character is the character of Sudama and the qualities that he portrayed as that character in that epic, where friendship and what are the roles and responsibilities of a friend are very nicely brought about. In spite of being in the dire need, he doesn't consider a friend to be a person from whom he can seek something. and that is the quality that impresses me in that character.
Great. So, sir, on the same lines, the second thing, sir, who is your Bollywood crush, female, currently?
I think this conversation is actually turning into some very dangerous zone for me.
So we want to know you better. We want to know
Yes,
more
sir.
about you.
Yeah, but in the process of knowing me better, you are also making others know me better, and in those others include some of the very, very close people to me.
Okay.
Maybe ending up into some problem for me tonight at home. But anyway, since you've asked me, it would not be wrong to say that everybody has some or the other actor, Bollywood actor, as a favorite. And I would not actually term this as a crush, but yes, there is this lady in Bollywood who is a rage in today's times, who has also impressed me a lot by the very strong performances that she has given, and I'm sure you'll agree when I name her. She's Alia Bhatt. She's impressed me in the last couple of films by the very, very strong performances that she has given. And I would certainly like to name a few of her performances which have molded my opinion. I think you would agree with me when I say that the performance that she gave in the film Razi, or maybe there was this film by the name of Gangubai, and the portrayal of the character that she has done has really impressed me a lot.
Great, sir. And again, which romantic character of Bollywood you have been impressed with the most?
Who other than the ultimate in romance? SRK.
Okay. So which performance did you like the most? Which you felt that you could have been, like you wanted to be, okay, I am, like you wanted that.
Yeah, this is where there would be a slight discrepancy between the performance that I have liked, because that is not purely a romantic performance, but the performance of his that I have liked the most has been two performances. One in Swadesh, because that topic is close to my heart, is dear to me, and another performance that he gave as an Air Force officer in the film Veer Zara, where he brings out very effectively the strong character of a person, and that is what impressed me, and the way he portrayed it, of course. Only he could have done it.
So what is your idea about today's love and dating? What is your idea of it? What do you think about it? And how it is different from your time and like what is currently going on?
Yeah, so I think हमारे time पर जब एक screen पर भी a hero and a heroine were meeting, the camera used to pan on to a flower. And now it's more straightforward, it's more direct, and it's more right into your face.
And the same is reflecting on the real scenario as well.
The same is reflecting on the college campuses also. I have been with young students all through my life. I have seen classes where girls and boys used to sit separately. Then I have seen classes when they started intermingling. And now I fear I might possibly see classes when they are occupying the same chairs. So I'm possibly okay with it, but some of my colleagues do not find it very convenient or very easy to address the students of today. But certainly I have noticed one thing, and that one big change is that they are more free now. There's more of a physical contact now. Even in casual talk, keeping one's hand on the other's shoulder used to be an absolute no-no in my times.
Yes.
And has been an absolute normal behavior in today's time. So I believe, yes, generations have changed, and I think the best way to do it is to accept it than to resist it, because change is one constant which will always happen. How can today's generation live like 40 years ago, when K.L. Sehgal was singing a song and the heroine was some 200 kilometers away singing the same song? That cannot possibly happen.
So do you think जो change हो रहा है वो change अच्छे के लिए हो रहा है? What's your perspective? Like, is this change for good, or like इतना ज़्यादा physical attraction, as you said, that it is good for a student और जो भी यहाँ college का
See,
environment.
I'll be more straightforward about it. My personal opinion is that this is a more freer way of behaving. That was a more suppressed and a controlled way of behaving. The desires were the same.
Yeah.
So the issue is, if I see it very, very fundamentally and in code, if anything is being suppressed unnaturally for a long time, it's going to
Blast.
burst someday or the other. So in that way, there is less of pseudoism now than it was earlier. So I believe that's one positive thing, that societies are more freer now than they used to be earlier. But then there is another fallout also, and that fallout is more so because we somewhere failed to inculcate the right perspectives in our children. And that is when they grow up into maybe constricted personalities who behave in ways which are not acceptable ways of the society. So being free and doing wrong things are two different things, and they should be separated, is my opinion about it.
Sir, this brings me to another context, that today the times of zillennials, the mental health is being very much highlighted these days.
Yes.
So one term which is used like by every second and third zillennial, I am depressed, I have depression. So like I feel that even when they are just normally sad, they feel that they are depressed.
Yeah.
So why is this, like what is in your opinion, why is it happening? Why people are taking the small part of their emotion so seriously, and they are making up a story in their own heads? So like where are we going? What is your opinion on this, sir?
And also sir, उस टाइम पे भी ऐसे होते थे, लोग डिप्रेस्ड होते थे आपके
जी
उसमें.
नहीं, मुझे लगता है कि डिप्रेशन कोई इस डिकेड का या इस ईयर का तो प्रॉब्लम है नहीं कि अभी इट हैज जस्ट कम अप ऑल ऑफ अ सडन. But my take at it is possibly very contrary to the general view. मैंने पर्सनली कुछ केसेस ऐसे एक्सपीरियंस किए हैं जिन्होंने आई हैव मेंटल इश्यूज, आई हैव डिप्रेशन एज एन एलिबाई यूज किया है टू एस्केप फ्रॉम सम रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और फ्रॉम सम thing that they have done.
Can we say just reality, sir? They are just trying to escape the reality or what is coming.
Possibly yes. The other thing is that I think somewhere or the other, this generation which is facing more of stress and related things like depression or a mood swing and all that, possibly is also indicative of somewhere breaking of that family bonding and structure that used to be.
More of nuclear families incoming.
In the nuclear families. So I still remember in our childhood days, there used to be joint families. We used to all sit together, have lunch and dinner, share things. It was always our mother who said, if there is one mango left and your brother wants to eat it also, it's perfectly well to give it to him. So there is this break in the bonding that was there between children and between parents, between children and their siblings, between children and their friends. It has become more of a competitive spirit that we have put into our newer generations, and all that has possibly resulted in all this feeling of pressure or stress, loneliness somewhere. So I think more than the current generation, it is the past generation which is responsible for.
So very rightly mentioned that earlier people used to live more with family than with their friends, right?
Yeah.
So now people are working somewhere else out of their home, and they're living with the unknown people. So they have some fear of the people will judge them, or people will not understand them. So I think that is why there is more of this mental issue is prevailing right now.
Now we shall call this session to an end, sir. It was a great session with you. We got to know you better, faculty's opinion better, and yes, more insights to many important topics. So thank you again. We are very grateful to have you here, and we hope this session goes absolutely well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm actually delighted. It was a very good 1.5 hours that I spent with you. I've spoken absolutely off the cuff. Maybe some things were to your liking, or some things not to the liking of the audience which receives this. But in the end, I would say that it was more of a freewheeling interaction that I had
Absolutely.
than of a premeditated session where questions and answers are possibly rehearsed and practiced. There have been a wide range of issues and topics that we've talked
Yeah.
about,
Yes, sir.
and I hope I was able to possibly bring across.
Yes, sir. You was.
Totally, sir. Totally.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.